Hello, everybody. We are back.
Woo!
Woo! Welcome to us, Blared Out. I've got my co-host, David English.
Hey, everyone.
And we are so excited to be back.
Oh my God, I know. It was getting anxiety, like going so long.
It was literally like whoop, 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 like a whirlwind. And then, you know what? God opened up the doors and just, came shining through because we are supposed to continue with this podcast.
Absolutely. What a blessing.
So we've been super lucky and blessed, and we have a new amazing team, and we're so excited.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but now I also have our guest, Alyssa. And just so you guys know, Alyssa's my girl, okay? Like, I've watched this girl just go through the most terrifying and also amazing transitions. And Alyssa was, I know this was hard for her, but she was our recipient for Happy Mommy Hour. Mm-hmm. And, we're just here to kind of let you guys know her story because what you see isn't what you always get. And I think it's important for Alyssa to be able to have her voice out here and tell her story.
Yeah.
So thanks, Alyssa, for being on.
Of course. And I'll tell you, it took me a long time to muster up the courage to be able to do this. And I'm so happy that I have the opportunity because I do think that there's a lot of questions. And, this is going to be therapeutic for me as well as just answering a lot of those, unknowns because I don't fit the bill.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's something I've heard a lot.
I think it's hard because let's start from the beginning because you've been like a go person. Like you really have. Like I remember seeing you and, you had this team and, you were just in hustle mode and just showing up.
Just new realtors then.
Yeah, we were baby realtors at the time. So, I mean, we saw you and I just was like, wow, this girl's got fire in her and I love it. And we became kind of close right away. I was just like, I really like her.
Well, that's good news. I would hope it wouldn't be the opposite. But.
No, I loved you right away. I feel like you were just an honest, straight shooter, and you were so positive and just always were willing to like help and give advice, or just when you and I would talk about marketing. Yeah. So we got pretty close pretty quick.
Well, I think when you have a passion for something, it's much easier to like do it every day and say like, this is something I really love and I want you to feel the same way about it.
Yeah.
And so the more the merrier. Like there's enough to go around and I think we can all work together. Like it's much easier if we're all a team in the industry as a whole.
Yeah.
And so that was just something that I took like from my childhood. And the thing with me being 110 miles an hour, that didn't just start in my career. It started from a very young age. I wanted my hands in everything. I wanted to experience everything. I wanted to go to the top as many different like categories as I could. Like that was kind of where I just was in my life. Yeah.
I want to do it all.
I did. And I did. And the thing is like, I felt like I had finally hit that where I was very comfortable kind of sitting at the top. Like I felt like, I had the world in my hands. Things were easy because I think I loved every day. Like things were so good. And, a year ago, my life stopped. Mm-hmm. It just completely stopped. It was just a wall. Like I hit a wall. Mm-hmm. And this wasn't like the first time that my life had stopped. So I think it made it way more nerve-wracking, impactful. Like, you know what I mean? Because I kind of could see what was coming. But if I knew,
yeah, right.
If I knew, like I don't know if I would have been able to like go through it, but I didn't. I've just been taking it day by day.
I mean, because it kind of came on. Well, I didn't know that you had it before. Mm-hmm. So I remember you getting really sick and being really worried about you. Right. And then
I had dropped like 30 pounds in a matter of months.
But you were kind of hiding it too because you were like wearing baggier clothes. So, and I never pay attention too much, like if people are losing weight or not. But I just was like, wait, something's up. Because I could tell you were kind of in a spiral, like just like you were not going to stop. You were in go mode.
No, I was.
And then I remember I don't know like how I found out because you and I, we didn't really get close until really after this, but we were still like definitely in each other's lives, like checking up on you. Like I would get these feelings to call you.
Yeah.
And I remember finally you kind of told me what had happened. So like, just for people who don't know your story, like how...
What is it that brought you to that stop? Like, what was the news?
So bullet point version, obviously, for the time limit.
Yeah.
So essentially, I got to kind of take it back a little bit. In 2016, they had found a tumor, and it was totally like, I went in because same thing. I was losing weight. I wasn't feeling well. They had done a CAT scan to kind of look at my abdomen because I was really nauseous, and because I was losing weight, they thought maybe it had something to do with like, my not being able to eat because of something going on internally. And they had said, it looks like you have 2 kidneys on the right side. And so of course I'm here, well, is that normal? I've never heard of that before. So quick whirlwind, fast forward. They scheduled the surgery to go in and remove the tumor. They said it would probably be a partial, so they could leave part of my right kidney in, which I guess is something that they are able to do. In surgery, they ended up needing to take my entire right kidney once it was out and I was in recovery. This was a laparoscopic surgery, so if you're familiar with that, it's like not as invasive as full surgery. So remove my kidney. They send it out to pathology because obviously any tumor needs to be looked at. My team at that point was not an oncology team. They had said the path report came back as a super rare cell, and that it was leaning more towards on the benign side. And if you're not familiar with what that means, there's malignant, which is cancerous, and there's benign, which is a tumor, but it doesn't usually
turn into cancer.
It's not those mutated. It's still mutated cells, but it's not those deadly ones, right? So they had said, like, the chances of this reoccurring are next to none. Like, people live with 1 kidney every day. You're so young. Like, I was 26 at the time. Yeah. I was healthy in the eyes of what healthy is supposed to look like. I ate well. I worked out. I did the thing. I ended up having a whole nother child after this. Like, it was fine. So I went on with my life. And the thing is I had times in between that 6 years before my last year's diagnosis where I wouldn't feel good. I would get sick. I would have headaches and things like that. And I never once ever thought it was the cancer. Like,
you never went there.
I never in my brain could have ever imagined that it was cancer when I had these moments.
Why would you?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't.
You're like, you removed my kidneys. So.
I'm good. And I was good. Like I said, I had a whole nother child. I started my career. I was running. I was working. I was happy. I was healthy. Like, in the eyes of everything, it was all good. And then when I started losing weight, I went to my doctor and said, listen, and the thing about me is I avoid doctors like the plague. I am terrified of, I don't go to urgent care. I like my holistic funds. I do my essential oils. I do everything at home, remedies, things like that. So I had not even really had a primary care. I didn't have any reason to go to the doctor over that span of that. I think it was like 6 years in between. And I had dropped all that weight, and I had gone in and I told my doctor, like, I'm really uncomfortable. I'm losing too much weight. And she literally, her response was, you're going 100 miles an hour. Like, of course, you're not eating, you're not taking care of yourself. When you're working that hard and you've got 2 kids and you're coaching a soccer team, you're doing all these things. Of course, your body's going to react in a way, especially if you're not eating. But I'm like, but I don't want to eat. I don't have an urge to eat. That's where something's wrong.
That's where the concern's coming in,
And I was having like circulation issues too, where like my lower extremities, like my feet would swell. And so that was kind of new too. And so she ended up putting me on blood pressure medication and medication for ADHD because she thought I was like having signs of that, which I guess as adult women, like we really do show a lot of signs of that.
Yeah.
And so I thought that's what it was.
Because we have a million things to do.
A million. A million. Like literally when I say I was doing a million things, I was doing a million things.
You're also, single mom of 2 kids.
Right. It was
and a business.
Insane.
Like
coaching a soccer team, like running. It was insane. So she had put me on medication for that. Well, over the next 3 days, I was awake. 3 days. I was like, I mean, have you ever like been awake for longer than like, you lose your mind. I was losing it. I was like, something's really wrong. Something's really wrong with me.
Wow.
So then I started actually getting sick. Like the nausea became actual sickness. And so instead of calling my doctor, instead of going back, I literally just, I went to the urgent care and I walked in and I was like, something's wrong with me. Can you just help me?
I remember this. Yeah.
Well, they did the same thing, a CT scan. And I remember just waiting for the results. And even still in this moment, being as sick as I was with 89 pounds, like I looked like I was dying.
Tiny.
Oh, it was so uncomfortable. And even in that moment, sitting in that urgent care, the thought of cancer never, ever crossed my mind. So then I'm laying in the bed in this urgent care and 2 white coats walk in. And at that point, I'm like, something's really wrong because I remember this from years ago.
Yeah.
And the one says, "You said you had your kidney removed?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I have the scars to prove it. I would hope they removed my kidney. What are you talking about? I went through surgery and I assume." And he said, it looks like you have a very large kidney in that area where your kidney was. And I'm thinking, okay. And so they had told me, they're like, "We are sending you from here directly to the hospital." And of course, I'm like, excuse me, I have like 12 in escrow. I have I'm not, what do you mean I'm going to the
She's
hospital?
like, that's not a part of my plan. Thank you.
I'm not going anywhere. And I literally fought them. I was like, I cannot just go to the hospital
remember, and
right
we
now.
were also worried about you, and
I did. I fought them because the only thing I could think about was like, this sounds and feels a little more major than I anticipated, just having like nausea and being sick. And, you know, out of the million things that it could have been, I wasn't anticipating this. And they really scared me. I was very scared. And so I was like, no, I am going home to pack a bag, 1. And 2, I'm going to kiss my children.
Yeah.
I'm going to see my children before you lock me up in hospital jail. Now, mind you, to reiterate, I am terrified of doctors and I'm terrified of all of this, right? So I'm in this weird
anxiety mode.
I'm in literal like panic mode at this point. So they get me over to the hospital and I'm there for a little over a week. They do biopsy, they do testing, put me on all this stuff. And turns out this was a tumor. And what was happening internally was it was encasing my IVC, which means like it literally was just wrapped around this main artery, which is the aorta's sister. So one pumps the blood in, one pumps the blood out.
It was like squeezing it, right? Yeah.
So that's where the swelling was coming from. So my body was reacting to this like circulation issue mainly.
And it was affecting your heart too, right?
It was affecting. So I was sitting at like a 120 resting heart rate, which is concerning.
Yeah.
You know, because that's that fight or flight that you were talking about.
Yeah.
It's like that you're just in a constant state of anxiety and my body was not reacting well to it. So after we'd kind of figured it out, they had said, you know, it obviously is cancer, so we're going to need to move forward with this, but you do need to speak to an oncologist team. Well, there was a surgeon at the hospital that they had initially sent me to, and they had said that the risk of surgery was
I remember this.
was insane, and that the only thing that they would be comfortable doing was something, I believe it's called an ablation, which essentially just goes in and they cut the blood off to the tumor to see if they can get it to shrink. Because the main thing is you can't just go in there cutting around this IVC. It's a main artery, right? I would bleed out.
Yeah.
Is what they would.
Well, it was like the riskiest of risky surgeries.
So I decided at that point, like, okay, I'm going to get a second opinion. So I went to another major hospital and talked to a surgeon there. And they were under the impression that this was most likely the same cell type that it was a couple years ago. And they were like, you know, where it is really risky, but we think we can probably go in and at least take a big portion of it out, right? And I didn't vibe with that surgeon. And I think that I'm a person like that. Like, what's the word where you just have to feel
their energy, like you
intuitive.
Yeah.
I have to feel comfortable with the person that's literally my life is in their hands. And I just didn't feel that way. I just felt like he was really nonchalant about it. And he didn't seem to care about the fact that like, I just got this news and I was really, really scared. And he was just like, yeah, we'll open you up and see what happens. And that's not okay with me.
No.
With life or death, we're not playing that game.
Not when you're that freaked out, especially.
And you have like you've already been through a surgery, and now you're kind of finding out, was there some of this kidney left?
Right.
So
at this point, I'm frustrated. I'm in fear. I'm not feeling well still because none of those symptoms went away. None of those went away. So I'm in this state of like, I need to figure this out quickly.
Yeah.
I went to another surgeon and she was top notch. Yeah. I felt that vibe. I was like, I love her. She came in guns blazing. Like,
love that.
She had a stack. Like, she pulled all my medical history. She did a bunch of research. She was on top of her game. She explained what the surgery would entail, what it would look like, what the risk is. she went down a rabbit hole with me. And I was so grateful for her because I actually understood at that moment what was going on.
Yeah.
However, at the same time, I really understood what was going on. And I started to really feel this like paralyzing fear because I realized like
What might happen?
this surgeon told me you probably have until December. And at this point it was June.
Yeah.
That was a reality. And I'm thinking, am I going to see the next Christmas? Like, that's where I was.
Yeah. I don't think people realized because you didn't really tell too many people about like what the doctors were telling you.
Right.
But people don't realize like you had to write goodbye letters.
I did. To my kids, to my family, to my friends. I literally remember just saying goodbye to everyone because it was such a reality for me at that point. And what had happened with the surgeon is I was so ready and like I felt comfortable with her. I was ready to rock and roll with it. She took the binder, closed it, handed it to me and said, unfortunately, we are incapable of doing this. The risk is too high. And when I tell you, like my soul left my body.
I remember this, and it was like up and down, and like you'd be getting excited, and then it'd be like, oh no.
It was another blow. And so at this point, I'm like, what do I do now? So luckily, she referred me to the top-notch on-call team here in the area. And so I went and had a consult and they had multiple people there. So it was different, like, parts. So I needed a cardiovascular surgeon. I needed a urologist that deals with the area of where the kidney is. I needed an oncologist. Like, it was a whole bunch of different people that kind of, I guess, met before they even met me. And so the day that I'd went for this consult to talk about this surgery that apparently was impossible to all these other surgeons, when I walked in the room, one of them was like, oh, there's our 1 in a million.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, no thanks.
Yeah. This is not how I imagined being called this.
The 1 in a million, this is not the road that I thought I would be hearing that in. And I didn't want to be in that position. And so they really worked really, really hard. And so what they had come up with was, we're going to go ahead and do chemo. And again, to reiterate, I am very much a natural.
Yeah.
Like I like the furthest away from Western medicine.
Yeah, I get
so
it.
When they had said, chemo is probably going to be your only option because if we can shrink the actual tumor enough, we can get it away from that IVC and you may have a chance for the surgery and to lower the risk of it possibly. And at that point, they took the pathology and the slide from the tumor from my first round when they removed my kidney. And they took the biopsy that they did when I was in the hospital for that week. And they sent both of them to the top-notch genetic testing pathology place in the state. And it came back that it was this very rare form of kidney cancer and that it was proving to be aggressive. So the fact that the first round they're saying it's leaning more on the side of benign and there's no chance of it coming back, it must have literally started growing back the second I was done with the surgery. Like it's a cancer cell. Yeah. So I went through the chemo and I was very reluctant and I really, really didn't want to do it. I didn't want my children to see me like that, and I think a lot of people, when they see me now, it's unbelievable because when I think of somebody going through cancer treatment, they lose their hair. And the only thing that I can say is that the chemo didn't work.
Yeah.
For me, it didn't work for this type of cell, and that was my only option at the time. And it was really hard because every cell in my body was burning for 6 weeks straight. It was daily. And I felt like putting that in me was poison, and I felt it every day. And so for it not to work, it was another extremely devastating moment in my life because at this point, I'm being told there is no other options and this is terminal. And then I had the other surgeon telling me I'd be lucky to see December. Yeah. Now we're in September. So the goodbye letters and the funeral arrangements and all of these things are starting to come into my...
And you were like doing this a lot on your own and with your immediate family, like your mom and your dad and like your sister and everyone.
Yeah, and I'm a very private person. Like you don't see my presence a
We'd
lot.
only see like a couple of your messages because like you had your close group of like your messages of like what was going on. And I just want to tell people like to see the up and downs of where like we're praying, we're like trying to be positive, and then to see like where she'd see this like glimmer, you'd see this glimmer of light, like you'd be like, oh my gosh, we're gonna do it, and then you'd get this hit, and then this isn't gonna work, or oh, they're telling us no, and it was this huge roller coaster.
I mean, and you and I were not even like nearly as close as you and Blair. Like I mean, honestly, we really met today. Like we've just heard a lot about each other, but I mean, the entire time, like I'm constantly asking Blair, you know, how is she today? What's going on? What's the story? So, I mean, I was like riding this roller coaster with you, and it was, I mean, yeah, my heart was breaking for you. My heart would celebrate with you. It was.
Yeah. And that was a lot of people, because what I don't think you realize is though the doctor told you you're 1 in a million, to all of us, you're 1 in a million, not because of that disease, but because of who you are as a person.
Right.
And I saw your faith struggle. And
oh my goodness.
I mean, I remember telling you, yell at him. Like you do what you got to do.
Oh, and I did.
And
I would grasp my steering wheel and scream at the top of my lungs, like, don't you dare take me from my children.
Yeah.
And I told him multiple times, and that's the thing is like, I'm a very, very God-fearing woman, and I've always been very, very strong in my faith. I grew up in church, and I pray every day, like for others and myself and my babies. I literally told him multiple times through chemo and all of this situation going into this surgery, I will choose violence. I will choose violence. If you take me away from my life, I will choose violence with you, sir. So you better leave me here.
She said, she goes, I will choose violence at the pearly gates. I don't care. I was like, I love you.
I'm coming in swinging.
And I was like, good. You take that anger. I'm like, that you need that. I'm like, you yell, you need it to fight, because I think there was so much getting kicked down. Like you'd be up, like trying to fight, and then boom, you'd go down. And that was a lot.
Yeah. And it's hard to get up every day and try to fight when you keep getting knocked down. Like I was literally on my knees, just begging somebody to help me. And at the end of the day, I had to help myself, and that started mentally. And that is the hardest thing. I think people do not understand the power of your brain.
Yeah.
Like there were times when I was having conversations with God that I'm like, please don't take me from my life. My babies need me, my family. Like I need to be here. And that is unimaginable. I've never thought about my funeral. I did not know prior to this whole situation if I wanted to be buried or cremated. And I had to face the actual reality of making that choice. I had to make that choice. And I mean, have you ever thought about that?
I mean, I'll say things. I'll be like, oh, I want to be cremated, but I've never had to sit down.
So real.
Like I said, when you wrote the letters, like, that made it so real to me. Not that it wasn't, but I'm like, I've never thought about having to say goodbye to my children.
Right.
Like,
well, I actually did. So the night before surgery, I did say goodbye to my family and my children, because the thing is I did not see past the 22nd. So what happened was after they had the chemo, they found out it was unresponsive, and they said this, obviously you don't have treatment options. This cell is not responding to the only chemo that would have done something for this type. I took off, went to Disneyland, screamed my head off on every single ride. It was absolutely incredible. But in the back of my brain, I knew that like everything that I was doing during this time was the last, and that to me was life altering, like on a soul level, to feel like every meal, every hug, every conversation was literally the last time that I was having it. It was devastating. And so when I got back from Disney, it was like around Halloween, and my team had called me and said that they had met multiple times, and that if I was willing, they were willing.
Yeah.
And
it happened like fast.
It happened fast. It happened too fast.
Yeah. Because I remember they gave you the call, and you weren't sure like if you were ready or not, right?
I did not want to do it.
Yeah.
I did not want to do it. I did not want to do it. They were telling me that I had a 20% survival rate, which all I heard was an 80% chance of death. That's what I lived with weeks leading up to the surgery is the fear literally paralyzed me on another level. Like I am scared of spiders. I mean, like really scared of spiders. This fear was like, I was strapped on a roller coaster that I knew was broken and I could not get off the ride. Like I knew that it was going to kill me. And so they scheduled the surgery. You know, they had to wait until I detoxified from the chemo and like built my white blood cells. They did a lot of blood work, and there was a lot leading up to this because the cardiovascular team needed to do testing. The on-call team needed to do tests. There was so much leading into this to prepare.
Because there's a lot of team members, right?
They had to literally prepare for every scenario that could happen in the surgery. And so that 20% was obviously the worst case.
Don't you have a rare blood type too?
I have something going on with my blood. Yeah.
So
there's a lot of rare things that are going on with me that have come up through this process, you know, and some of those things I don't have answered because it's so rare. That's also a super frustrating thing is I don't get the answers. Like, you know, and not to discount any other cancer, but there's a lot of answers for a lot of other cancers where they have treatment options and they have things that they know work for the type of cell. And there's surgery that could potentially completely remove it where I don't have that because there's just not enough research and there's just not enough I don't know. I guess I'm the research now. Yeah. Which is really unnerving, but it's also like, well, if that's maybe my purpose in this, you know, purgatory that I'm living in, maybe that's what it is. It's just to help another person that maybe they don't have to go through that chemotherapy that I had to go through that really was really hard on my body, and I'll never be the same because of it. You know, it threw me into menopause, and that's something that like I don't share and people don't talk about.
But you're so young.
It's life-changing for me. Yeah. Still now, today, even though I'm not going through it, it's still I'm going to have this residual for forever. And, you know, going into the surgery, it was the craziest thing. So the day of surgery, I get there at like 4:00 in the morning. Well, let's go back a minute because the night before we were talking about how I said goodbye to everyone. So I have this vivid memory of the night before surgery, putting my kids to bed. And, you know, it's one thing to like love your children so much, but to know that like I couldn't see past the next morning, I couldn't see past the surgery. I kissed my kids goodnight and I walked into the bedroom, and my sister had flown in, and my sister from another mister had flown in. So my best friend of like 15 years, she was there too. I walked into the bedroom after kissing the kids goodnight and I hit the floor. And let me tell you, I have never cried like that. It was like my soul broke. You know, like my soul broke. Like I had to say goodbye to my babies.
Give me water. I'm like, oh my God.
And I wasn't ready. And I remembered like telling them, I'm not doing it. I will take the next 2 months and I will live and I will be the best mom. And when he needs me, he's going to take me. But I'm not going to walk into this knowing that I'm not going to see them tomorrow. Like I can't do it, you know? And the fear just took over. And, you know, I also know that like they were looking at me. They were watching me. My family, my friends, people I didn't even know were on their knees praying for me. That is incredible. Like, I didn't feel worthy of that, you know? Like, strangers I didn't even know were reaching out to me, telling me that, like, we've got you, God's got you, like the power of prayer. And I felt so scared that I couldn't imagine, you know, like, how I was supposed to just walk into this and not wake up, because that was really a reality for me. And I finally fell asleep. I got little to none.
Yeah, how do you sleep before that?
I couldn't. It was really hard.
How do you go to sleep before?
It was hard.
Yeah.
I would have to, they'd have to drug me.
There's no way.
But then I wouldn't want to do that because I'd be like, how do you sleep? Did you sleep at all?
Not well. I mean, I kind of tossed and turned.
Maybe
It was like
out.
thinking of all the things and all the things that I had left to do that I didn't get to.
I'm getting anxiety thinking about it.
I'm like, how are your kids handling all this?
So, my youngest is 6, and he he doesn't.
Here's the.
he doesn't really.
I'm just gonna maybe cry again.
I'm sitting here like, oh God.
Throughout the process, like his reality of it was like, mommy's sick.
Yeah, because
He
he's
did
still
know
a
the
baby.
extent. My daughter, however, her and I are extremely, extremely close. She is literally my mini-me.
She is, first off, that little girl of yours is going to be a powerhouse.
She is.
At the event, she is what did. We were, it was this amazing event. We're thankful you were able to be there. We didn't know if you were, we were doing this event whether you were going to be there or not. But her daughter goes up and speaks, and this thing looks just like Alyssa. She's adorable. And she writes this letter, says about her mom and her experience of having to say goodbye to her mom. And then she tells everyone, open up your wallets. Yeah, open up your wallets. After we're bawling, and she's like, open up your wallets, and help us out. And I was like, my husband was like, whatever you want. And he's like, you want a pony?
She will never let him live that down. She still to this day is like,
no.
I know that Blair's husband's going to get me a horse.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was like, oh, honey.
I know. I mean, it's still in the cards. We're looking. Because at this point, we're like, whatever you want. I mean, it was crazy. The people's hearts, and we're so excited. And but just hearing your kids' stories.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, they went through it just as much
with
as
you.
I did.
Yeah.
and I think you forget about that sometimes. Like,
Right.
these are children with their own feelings and emotions, and this is their mom.
Right. Right. And they just like, they didn't have a choice in the matter to go through this rodeo with me. And, that's a big thing. And that's a big part of this is I could have made a choice not to fight. I could have made a choice after the first, second, and third surgeon that said, it's too high, you have till December. And I could have sat in my bed all day and cried and gave in to this misery that I was living in. But those two humans, my humans, were looking at me. And I am setting an example of we can do hard things. And if I was going to leave them, I was going to do it fighting with them, knowing that I did everything I could and I took the risk and I did what I needed to do to be there with them today. And thank God I did, because I am.
And you are here. And, now that you've gone through the surgery, what a lot of people don't realize is that you are still fighting every day.
Yeah.
And that this isn't going away.
No.
And that now you are just like living with it. And because of the way that you look healthy and that you have your, lashes in your hair, do you feel like people look at you different? Like, what do you feel like when people are seeing you fight without really looking like you're fighting?
Right. So I think there's this misconception that it's over.
Yeah.
Because to the world, it is. But for me, it's like, I'll be driving in my car on a random Tuesday and I hear a song and I'm like, oh, this would be a good song to play at my funeral. Like, this is my hour to hour that I'm getting through. And like I said about the previous time I was diagnosed, this time is different because every time I had a headache, every time I have an ailment where my stomach hurts or my back hurts, it's cancer.
It could be
And it
something,
runs through this whole cycle of just this fear that I don't get away from. But yes, when I walk in a room now with people that I used to walk in a room with, I feel different. And it might just be me, but I feel like they look at me differently. And there is this outstanding question of like, is it over? Right? And the thing is the reality is I have scans every 3 months. And every 3 months my life could stop. And at this point, what makes it different is that I don't have treatment options other than opening me up. And at some point that will not become an option. They did give me a life expectancy. And I wish with everything in my soul that they didn't, because I have to sit with that on my chest.
And you've got that in the back of your head.
Every day. So when we're going through the mundane things and like I'll have a conversation with someone and they have this, oh my goodness, my, light bulb went out in my bathroom and it's so frustrating and I am having a really hard time relating to that because the biggest thing in my day is if I'm going to see tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't know if I go to bed and it's just going to take me out. I don't know if in 2 weeks when I have that scan, my life stops. So I feel this impulsive.
Yeah.
I need to get it all in.
Well, yeah, you
and
want
I
to
have
live.
3 months to do it,
Yeah.
you know, and it's definitely a roller coaster.
So you feel like that you get those major scan anxieties, right?
Oh my goodness. Scan anxiety. Anyone who has gone through this cancer rodeo that I'm currently in, I know that they understand.
Yeah.
Like, you can't possibly imagine how it feels to know in 2 weeks that everything could be different.
Yeah.
You know, and it's terrifying because I have a choice.
Yeah.
I can say no. I don't have control over anything in my life, and I definitely don't have control over cancer, and I don't have control over what happens next, but I can say no, and that is one thing that I have control over. However, that's not an option. I have 2 humans. I need to know if it's back, and if it's not, we celebrate, and I get 3 months of breathing, but once around that 2-week mark, right before that scan, I'm feeling that urge to go buy that horse. I'm feeling that urge to go get on those roller coasters. I want to be on the Bahamas right now. I want to have all that life fit into such a short time, because the thing is there is no option for me if it is a bad scan. If the cancer's back in 2 weeks, I'm not going to go through chemo. It was unresponsive.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be thrown into surgery. What it is a mental stop for me. It's the knowing that the ticking time bomb is now ticking again.
Mm-hmm.
It's changed me.
And that's why you have on your socials, TikTok, you call it
Purpose in Purgatory.
Because you feel like you're kind of in this stuck.
Which I actually I love the name of that, but at the same time, like, it takes me back to the conversation we had with Michelle regarding like spirituality, and we were talking about how we have reached a certain point where we were in this atheist period where we didn't have any belief in nothing, and that kind of sounds like where you're at in this purgatory spot, which is actually terrifying, but at the same time could be so beautiful, you know, in the sense of what if you do end up finding your purpose in this purgatory state, which could come out not only benefiting you and your own mental health and maybe even your physical health, because once we find that purpose again, you know, our bodies react to that in such a positive way. But imagine like helping yourself, how it's going to help everybody else. And I think that's truly, I think in this purpose for you is about helping yourself, and it'll kind of trickle out and help other people.
Because it was hard for her to be the recipient for Happy Mommy. Like, she's like, your world was crashing down. Bills were coming through, like they're still coming through.
Yeah.
Because cancer's freaking expensive, and so is surgery and aftermath. You weren't able to work. And that was your passion, you know, real estate was your love. And then to have
She was great at it.
And she still is great at it. It's just the problem is now you've got the ticking time bomb on life. Right. And do you really want to sit there and deal with the problems of, you know, benzers and inspections and people being greedy? I mean, the reality is when you have real life in front of you and you want to grab it. And being at Happy Mommy Hour, I know you were like, how did this many people show up? And I mean,
unreal.
It was unbelievable because people see that in you, and I know and love you.
That just goes to show the impact you make.
You
on a
have
daily
that
basis,
impact
you know
on
what I mean?
people.
Yeah.
You have a pure heart.
It's beautiful.
See, and I just never saw it that way because I was going through my day of I'm a good person, I'm a good mom, and I like to feel good when I go to bed at night. So I do really make a conscious effort to do the right things by my people and by myself and by my family and by my friends. And I will tell you, being on the other end of that, I really didn't know. And I think I had shared with you multiple times, like, how are all these people here for me? It's such a weird feeling to know that so many people had cared that had never met me, but maybe had talked to me on the phone or just done like something in the real estate world or knew me through you or someone else that I may have known or dealt with. It was the most incredible experience. And honestly, like, when I think about that moment and how I felt at the end of it, knowing that like I was going to be okay for just a minute in my life, I felt okay and I was going to make it, you know?
Yeah.
I think I would love to be able to be back on the other side of that. Like, I want to be the giver. I want to be the one experience the look on someone's face when it's them receiving that, because I know it, like, how it felt to
I
be
think
on
that's
the
your
other end.
purpose. Personally, I saw you. You're literally at a recovery room. You're like, I want to help other people. And I'm like, you just let us help you for just a minute.
Blair was not having it. I was
I know.
Blair, don't do it.
She's like, what do I got to do? What do I got to do to help others? I'm like, this is about you right now. Let it be about you. It's okay. I will take you up on that offer and we'll help a bunch of
goes to
people.
show why people showed up. I mean, what a
Yes,
beautiful heart.
exactly.
Oh, I was ready. I was like, how can I help? What can I do? And she's like, you're not even driving yet. So
Yeah, I know.
And that was a whole
That
other
was
thing.
hard.
Like, talking about the independence of losing my ability to like drive. And, you know, my sister, like out of recovery from surgery, she was helping me shower and brush my hair. And everyone stepped in to take care of my children. I literally couldn't do anything. Like the surgery was so intense and insane.
Yeah, you
that
could barely
recovery-
walk.
Oh no, we had the mechanical bed set up.
Yeah.
It was insane. The recovery was really, really
Well, they
hard.
opened you up, took everything out,
Put it back in.
and put it back in.
It was pretty terrible.
Scrub it down.
Yeah, we just did a
And remove
cleanse.
it, cleanse and remove it. And I mean, but you are here and you're here today.
And the physical healing was really, really hard.
Yeah.
But I think the mental
Yeah.
is much harder. But I'm coming into this new version of myself because there's been so much loss through this. Just loss of people, loss of self, loss of
People show you your true colors.
it was so insane. People I thought would be a part of my life, people who I thought genuinely loved me because I genuinely loved them.
Yeah.
It was so quick and so fast. Like as soon as the going got tough, I saw like people and they're, like you said, their true colors. It was
Yeah.
like, oh, I was being used.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's very unnerving. But the thing is the silver lining is it weeded out people that weren't genuinely there for me. And it made room for people
Who wanted to be?
that I didn't even know
Yeah.
would be so impactful in my life. Like I'm sitting here, I've never thought in a million years I would be sitting here with you guys doing this today, but I'm so grateful because there's someone out there that's going through something right now that they think that they can't get through.
Yeah.
And I promise you with everything in me that there were minute after minute after minute where I thought I couldn't get through it.
Yeah.
And I did. And I did it because I had a good support system and I had help on the days when I screamed and cried through it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to do that.
And I feel like that's the best medicine. I mean, Blair and I constantly will go out and we have a scream session.
love
Like
it.
we'll go for a hike. We'll sit in the car in
You
front
have
of
to
each other.
come with us to
Yeah,
Pride
it's-
on the next
I mean, and we literally will just sit there and take turn. Okay, your turn.
Yeah.
And like let it out as long as you need to. And if you're
Sometimes
like,
you
hey, I need
gotta
another
yell.
round, like
Therapy.
You just got to yell.
yeah.
Well, it was so weird because I get these overwhelming feelings to call you.
Yeah, I know.
And you're like, seriously, stop calling me?
In
Like, because
that
it'd be
moment.
like, are you, something's going on. Are you okay? And she's like,
Everything is going on.
I was like, you let it out. You let it out. You let me know what's going on. You have every right to be angry and feel the way you feel.
And I feel
Because
like you're amazing at that. You always
Yeah.
hold that kind of space for me too, and it's wonderful.
I've got that there's this overwhelming call this person.
Right.
Call them right now, let them vent.
Right.
Or let them go. Because I knew you were going through so much. I mean, I can't, I know you're not supposed to ever say to like somebody who's gone through it, you can't imagine. But I literally can't.
Right.
Because I don't know what that feeling's like. So if you could like tell people that have heard your story, that just got that diagnosis, what do you tell them?
So I think that when you get a diagnosis like this, the world feels sorry for you. And what I would recommend is do not feel sorry for yourself. There's a reason for everything, no matter how angry it makes you, no matter how uncomfortable it makes you. And at the end of the day, things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to figure it out. So I'm not one to give anyone advice on how to handle things because I'm just hour by hour.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get through it. But I know at the end of the day, I go to bed knowing that I continue to be a good person and a good mom and a good friend and a good realtor and just a good human in general. Because when a lot of people have always told me, you never know when it's your time. You could get in a car accident today. I know my clock is ticking faster than anyone I know around me.
Yeah.
And it's important that, like, on my bad days, I honor myself. And it shouldn't take cancer to be able to learn to say no.
Yeah.
I ran and gave and gave and gave to everyone around me first. And now it's me
Yeah.
and my babies.
And that's important.
It is. And I never saw that before. And so now that I've got a taste of it, it's really important to me to have a good balance of finding my purpose again, because I thought I had a purpose before, but that was just materialistic and meaningless for me now.
Yeah.
Now my purpose is, how can I get through this life and make as much impact for others, but also like for me and
for your kiddos.
leave them with a legacy. I want my kids to look back on this time, because there is going to be a time in their life when I may not be in it.
Yeah.
And God willing, that doesn't happen. Like, we're all praying and hoping for that. The power of prayer is so real. It proved it. I'm a literal walking miracle. And I know it's because of the power of prayer, and also that I am feisty. This new version of me is a little scary. I'm learning that.
I love it.
But she,
I'm like, get it, girl.
this new version,
Preach. You tell your story.
I'm coming in hot. And I think that me telling, like, I've been very nervous to tell this story, because I'm vulnerable and it's uncomfortable. If someone
We will
was telling
fight
me,
people for you.
"I'm ready." Like, I need to leave. I need to leave this
Yeah.
with my footprints on it, and I'm going to figure it out. And, you know, purgatory literally means that space between heaven and hell. And I'm so grateful that I am alive, because I begged every day to be here. But now what?
But now what? And I think that's got to be difficult, right? Like, you were thriving in life and with work, and then you had to go into survival mode. And now you're kind of like, none of those things matter.
Right.
Like, but you still have to work to survive. You're a single mom. So it's like, where's your passion lie?
Right.
Where do you go from here? Because those big things that meant all the things in the world, the checks, like the nice things, like, they don't matter anymore. Because when life comes at you, like it's come at you, you realize what's important.
Right.
And your kids and memories. So right now, I think you're just supposed to be like living. That's what it is.
Yeah, and it's impulsive to feel that way. Like
Yeah.
I said, I really feel the need to just go jump on that roller coaster and buy that dang horse. Like, I'm ready to do all these things, and I'm gonna, because I have the opportunity to now.
Yeah.
And no matter how it comes, it's going to be so good, because I have to make a choice every day to, like you said, leave that legacy. And those memories are way more important than they ever were. Everything that I look at is just on a little bit of a different level. And I think that people can really take a page from that playbook on, you don't know if that's the last hug. You don't know if that's the last, event. You don't know if that's the last time that you're going to have that person or that moment. And I always have that feeling now of, this could be the last time, that I do these special things. And so it just feels a little different. And I'm so grateful that it does, because I'm noticing a lot more now than I ever did. Everything tastes a little better. The sunset's just a little more beautiful. Like, I notice the mountains. I smell things, like, they say smell the roses.
Yeah.
It really is like, you need to do that. You need to stop. Like, we get in this hustle, bustle, run, because you or me. And coming to a point where I was literally forced and kicking and screaming out of that hustle and out of that 100 miles an hour, having to physically stop, emotionally stop, mentally stop. I think we all need to take that and know that it's so important. It is so important to do it, because you miss so much.
Yeah.
Look at that sunset.
Yeah.
Be grateful that you can see it, because I was in a position where I didn't know if I was going to see another one. And now when I see one, thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lord.
So, and now that we've are going to wrap this up, and I just want to say thank you so much, Alyssa, because your story is powerful. But we are in this hustle culture, right? Like, oh, you got to boss babe it. You got to hustle. Like, no time off. Like, 24-hour work schedules. Like, what's it get you? At the end of the day, what's it get you?
Right.
You just end up spending more. You make more, you spend more.
100%.
It's true. And then it's on the end of the day, you're like, I've worked all these hours and I don't even get to spend time with my family.
Right.
Like, what matters?
You're missing so much.
It's beautiful world when you see it and you stop being like, oh, I'm going to hustle every second of the day and I'm going to start doing things that matter.
100%.
And that I think is so important. And I'm starting to realize it. I'm realizing it because of you. Like I told David the other day, I'm like, I've been working so hard, so much for what? For what? Just so people put a target on my back? They're like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, you know what matters? Conversations like this.
Yeah.
Like having people help others to stop and smell the roses. That's important.
Don't wait.
No.
Don't wait. Because in a million years, I would have never expected this to be my life. I would have never stopped and realized what's important.
No.
And I got a rude awakening. And I don't recommend it. 0 out of 10. 0 out of 10. So just take this opportunity to take those moments.
Are you at all a little thankful for it? Or are you still in the part of like...
There's definitely a silver lining. This new version of me is going to be a million times more than...
You're glowing, by the way. Like your aura, did you see it? It's crazy. Like you're like, it's not just your blonde hair. Like you
Ooh,
are...
that's chemo.
Yeah.
It's really great.
She's like, it's all the radiation. Watch out.
No, I think, right? She's all...
You know,
No.
it's just the chemo hair. It's fine.
No,
But,
you are glowing. I mean, you're a beautiful person on the outside, but so beautiful on the inside. And I think that your purpose in purgatory is going to definitely start purposing a lot.
I'm ready. I'm
so,
ready. And
too.
I feel like this has been really good. And I really, really appreciate the fact that I've been able to come and get this off of my chest and answer some questions. And, you know, this isn't over.
No.
The fight continues.
Yeah.
You know,
And thank you for sharing.
I know.
this.
And for people who are seeing you, when they see you, like, what do you just want them to, like, treat you like?
Normal. I am a different version of me, but I'm the same person that you knew. I still have the same soul and the same emotions. And it's really hard to walk in a room and feel like I'm some anomaly. And whether it's in a good or bad light, that's fine. But just know that it's really uncomfortable for me to know that everyone's looking at me in a different light than they used to.
Yeah.
I'm not broken.
I mean, I look at you as the same badass as ever. I mean, there's no like, actually maybe even better, but I've never let you go. I was like, you're not going anywhere, just so you know.
The thing about you is you never for 1 second had pity for me. And I appreciate that more than anything in this world, that you never took pity. You never felt sorry for me. If anything, you grabbed that inner warrior from me that I needed and pulled her out when I needed to find it, and I couldn't. You did that for me. And that's the thing is, like, you know, people can go through a lot in their life and they have friends and family, and sometimes you don't know how to react when the people around you are going through literal hell on earth and you want to be like, I'm so sorry, how can I help? No, you got this. You're a bad mamma jamma, and you better pick yourself up and get out of bed and get dressed and put your lashes on and rock the day. That's what you need to be doing. And that was something that you did for me, and I needed it at the time. And as much as it was hard to hear, because I did not want to get out of bed. I wanted to cry.
I know.
I want to cry right now, and this is where I'm at. You did not allow that, and it really helped in me not losing myself, my strength, and now it's just this new version of me and this new strength that I have.
Good.
And I'm so grateful for it.
Well, I'm grateful for you, and you and I are so much alike.
I know.
So I basically was like, how would I want to be talked to?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want someone feeling sorry for me. I don't want people to be like, I would be like, if you want to cry, you can cry.
Yeah.
If you want to scream, you're going to scream.
Yeah.
But you're going to go and you're going to fight this. And that was every time she talked, I'd feel this need to go call Alyssa right now. Like, and I'd be like, what's going on? Who are we going to fight today? Who are we waking up? Because you're going to fight. And then when, you know, right before the surgery, remember you were going through a lot of stuff that we're not talking about.
Right.
But I was like, good, you're angry. That's even
Use
better.
She would tell
I
me.
remember,
She was like, use this as fuel to like literally fuel that fire in you and get through it. And it was crucial.
It
was
was
crucial.
And I think it served its purpose, and it did.
100%.
And you're going to be doing that
And
for
here
somebody
you are,
else.
standing on your own 2 feet.
That is so amazing that you just said that. I think that is huge because I can physically say I really truly understand.
Yeah.
You know, let me get you through this.
Well, thank you guys, and thanks, Alyssa. If you want to follow Alyssa on TikTok, it is called Purpose in Purgatory, correct?
Purpose in Purgatory.
I mean, listen to her and her stories and stuff like that. She's going to be like dropping some more important stuff too, and hopefully we'll be getting that book out eventually.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
her stories keep going. If you have been diagnosed or you know somebody and you are like having that fear or questions or anything, reach out to Alyssa. She's living it, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, we just want to tell you guys, keep fighting, get that fuel.
We can do hard things.
And thank you for letting us blare it out.
Thank you.